You board a beautiful ship and then walk into the buffet and instantly regret everything. Crowds, lines, people circling everywhere. And suddenly, cruising feels like a shopping mall food court. The weird part is the buffet is actually the least stressful area of the ship once you understand it. Today, we're talking about why cruise buffets feel chaotic and how pro cruisers make them feel relaxing. My name is Shane with MapBound, and I'd like to know what stresses you out more about a cruise: the buffet, elevators, or boarding day. Leave a comment below. The psychology of the cruise buffet is it's not actually crowded, it's synchronized. One of the reasons for this is most people follow the same daily schedule. So on port arrival days, you're going to see a lot of people rushing for breakfast, but then on a sea day, you might see a late morning surge, probably because people are sleeping in a little longer, recovering from the night before. Also, right before the theater shows, a lot of times you'll see a big rush at the buffet beforehand, during the dinner surge. Now, one of the reasons this can make a buffet feel more stressful is because everybody seems to arrive around the same 20-minute time frame. And one of the things humans react more to is when they see a line and not the actual wait time. So one of the things to keep in mind is cruise buffets are always busy. They're just busy in waves. Once you're done with your embarkation and you're ready to head to the buffet, one of the big things at this time is most people are hungry. And usually with this being the first time on that ship, you don't know all the buffet stations, where they are, and what kind of food they're going to have. Another big issue that a lot of people do is they get into the first line that they see. This a lot of times can be a huge mistake because that's also usually where it's going to be more busy. I personally like to do a lap around the buffet before I decide, and I generally pick a spot more in the middle of the buffet and with the first line usually being the longest line, people also find that they stand too long before getting their food. But pro cruisers know that buffets are designed in zones. They usually have stations where you can quickly grab something if you're in a hurry, and a lot of cruise ships will have made to order items like a waffle station, burgers, tacos, and sandwiches. And with there being crowds of people at the buffet, there are also going to be a lot of stations that are repeat stations throughout. Now, sometimes it's impossible to find, say, a hidden seating area in a buffet. This is in turn why a lot of pro cruisers will do a lap before they even grab a plate. When it comes to the buffet, a lot of people are looking what's the best time to go. For the most part, it's about the same as in your normal day-to-day life. For instance, breakfast on port mornings is usually around 7:30 a.m. to 9 a.m. But then on sea days, between noon and 1:30 is generally the busiest time for the buffet. And for dinner, it's usually around the first hour, say around 6, that it's the busiest. Now, when it comes to pro cruisers, they usually know the best times to go. For instance, the last 30 minutes of breakfast is usually the least busy time for the buffet during those hours. Another good time would be mid-afternoon. A lot of people are out doing things or have already ate lunch. Mid-afternoon would be better. And if you're not going to the main dining room, usually when the main dining rooms start filling up, the buffet is going to be a lot less crowded. This also can become handy if, say, you decided to do like a late dinner time and you need a snack, say, before your show. And one of the last ones is during the main theater shows, because at that time, most people are already at the show, leaving the buffet to be less crowded. One of the key things to remember is you don't avoid crowds by skipping meals, you just shift them by 30 minutes. Now, I found that the seating situation is usually my biggest stressor. Keep in mind that in most cruises, tables will have a number, because nothing's worse than being at a cruise buffet, nobody knows where the table is, but everybody gets into a line, and then they end up not being able to find each other and eat by themselves. Or by the time you find your party, your food is cold on your plate. So a lot of times what really happens is somebody will guard a table while everybody else goes up to the buffet, and then they will in turn go to the buffet when they're done. But if you're wanting to eat with each other, the person guarding the table will tell someone what they want, and then one person will have 2 plates. And some of the better ways to find seating is, one, look for seating outside. A lot of times outside will be less crowded. Now, of course, if there's weather outside, then it may be more crowded inside, but who would want to eat outside in the rain? Also, when you first walk into the buffet, those first seats that you see, just avoid them. Keep on cruising, because those are the seats that most people are going to take first. Now, if you are able to go outside, the upper deck a lot of times will have less crowded tables for you to eat on. And just keep in mind that the first dining room you see is generally going to be the busiest. Now, depending on the time of the ship, there are alternative options than the buffet that are usually included in the cruise fare. For instance, a lot of cruises will actually have a brunch or a breakfast in the main dining room. I personally love this because you can be served in a dining room setting and avoid those buffet crowds. If you are in a hurry, look for the grab and go sections of the buffet, or look for something like a pizza or deli station. These are usually a lot faster. On some cruises, they'll have options near the pool that are complimentary. Another one could be smaller restaurants such as cafes. For instance, on Carnival hit Guy's Burger Joint or Blue Iguana Cantina. On Royal Caribbean, grab Sorrento's Pizza, Park Cafe, or Cafe Promenade instead. On Norwegian, go to the local or indulge food hall. Way better than the buffet lines. On MSC, don't miss their free pizza and their brunch options. Seriously underrated. On Princess, check out the International Cafe, Slice Pizzeria, or Salty Dog Grill. On Celebrity, hit the Mask Grill or Spa Cafe for quick, fresh food. And on Virgin Voyages, basically everything is included. Try the galley or the pizza place. At the end of the day, just remember that cruise ships spread food out. Passengers don't just spread themselves out. So here's the pro strategy that I would suggest you use. As you walk into the buffet, skip the first seating, but find your seating first. While you're finding your seating, you could also start your buffet walk around to see where everything's located at. And always be sure to eat slightly off peak, whether it be 30 minutes before or 30 minutes after. And lastly, use smaller venues when the options are there. When you follow this, it is the same ship, but it's going to be a completely different experience. So some of the key things to remember about buffets is they generally feel stressful because everybody arrives at the same time. When you shift your timing, a lot of the chaos will disappear. Because of this, the buffet didn't change, but your approach did. My name is Shane with MapBound. Please like and subscribe. Follow me on Facebook. Check out my recommended cruise products. Also download my free cruise checklist. Thank you so much for watching, and remember, travel is life.